Hello everyone, and welcome to Theola Gaming. Uh, this is sort of the second part of our Halloween special. Oh hey, I got a hat. I'm a magician goat now. Second part of our Halloween special in Goat Z, and we're talking about the news this time. So the current happenings in the world. Um, so I've got quite a few and nothing. Well, actually, there's one that I reckon would be pretty good to talk about. And one that we're on episode 4. And that one is the whole situation in Israel and Palestine. So that's gotten pretty heated this week with a whole bunch of riots and murders on both sides. But that's obviously a very complex situation, and at some point I want to do an... I just threw cards at them to make them zombies. I want to do an episode on that, so we'll leave that for then. The other news is America's looking to step up its campaign against ISIS, with Russia and Iran also stepping up their campaigns. That could be quite a good thing. Might actually start to rid ourselves of it. And that's about all the geopolitics news I have. That's basically what I keep on track for.
Have you been Have you been, speaking of geopolitics, following the US election stuff at all?
I've seen bits popping up.
How's that been going?
Well, Donald Trump doesn't seem like he's like the lead candidate at the moment, which is encouraging for the collective sanity of the world.
Yeah,
Who's
their candidates weren't
who's
great.
the Republican? Is it Jeb Bush or who's in the lead at the moment?
I think it's Ben Carson, a brain
Oh, there you go.
surgeon
Ben
known
Carson.
for making people think, hey, maybe brain surgeons aren't quite as smart as we thought they were.
He's an interesting guy, that Carson.
Hmm.
No, I reckon we should all vote for, what's his name now? The rapper who was going to run.
Kanye. He's
Yeah.
not running till 2020. And I need to get US citizenship before then because he's got my vote 100%.
Really?
Dead set. Man, it's Yeezy season, that's all I'm gonna say.
Right, so the other news I had
Now,
that I
for
thought...
real though. Oh,
Oh, go ahead if you're still on
no,
topic.
go on, Jesse. It was nothing important. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, I was just, So the news I wanted to talk about was there was a study done, I think a study done several years ago, obviously, but the results sort of came out last week, and I don't remember what the study was actually on to start with, but they were following these whole group of poor families in America, and weird stuff just happened there. They're following these poor families in America and their kids and their schooling. But about halfway through the study, what happened was, because a lot of the, several of these families were like American Indians, and their tribe ended up, I think they built a new casino or something, and what that ended up in was, because that money's all shared between the tribes, that tribe, it gave them about an extra $1,000 a week or something income to these very low income families. So whatever this, so this study became a pretty interesting look at how the that elephant falling off is always distracting. So this study then began to show what that money actually, what that increased income actually did for people, this handouts, so to speak. And it actually did quite a lot of good for them. Because often one of the arguments against like social, well, giving people money to help them out is, oh, it just makes them lazy or complacent, or it doesn't actually do anything for them. But what this study showed was that things for these people became much easier. This kids' scores at school went up. The parents, they fought less, and their lives in general and their social lives, all the sort of psychological markers they looked at, improved drastically as a result of this extra income per week. And the
Is this
hypothesis
for,
by the
serious-
studies was that that was due to less stress on the parents for like about money, so that helped them get on better. Parents getting on better helps the kids, and that was their hypothesis. Obviously it's complex and probably doesn't have just one, but just an interesting study on showing that completely out of the, like, from a completely unrelated study, that helping people out with money doesn't make things worse for them and actually makes things much better.
The only people who've ever said otherwise, though, are people who don't like the idea of giving other people money.
Just curious though, is this sustained like on weekly repayments? Or is this a single lump sum? I think it's sustained is what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's
like
sustained. So I think,
good.
like, I'm no
'Cause,
expert on Indian casinos, but I think how it works is the income from any casinos go to all the members of the tribe. So they'll get like a weekly
Right.
income from the casino.
But that is important though. Lump sums can often have a negative effect where suddenly, oh, I have so much money, and then you don't much to show for it in a short time later. Even though some people do spend it well, some people do spend it well on like loans and repayments and things. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah.
I can definitely vouch for that. I know when I was a student studying at uni, I would be receiving this like government living away from home scholarship at the start of each semester, which was like $1,000, sometimes more. And I look back over my 3 years of uni study, and it's like, oh man, if I had like even saved a portion of that or used it more responsibly, I'd still have thousands of dollars in reserve now instead of like next to nothing in reserve now. So yeah, definitely the idea of giving people sustained payments over on a weekly or fortnightly or whatever basis, instead of hey, here's like $1,000, here's $5,000, whatever, do what you want with that, there's no accountability. It's like, hey, this is payday, and it all goes away pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's actually what, like, when Australia was facing the recession, that's what the government did to try and get everyone to go out and spend their money to increase
Exactly.
the economy.
Good on
Hey
you.
everyone, here's a lump sum. You'll all go out and spend it, which
That
is
was-
exactly what we want you to do. So
It was quite a poor decision, that one, because it costs so much and has so little to show for it. Whereas if they invest the same amount of money in a different, where it's a bit more focused, it'd been so much better.
yeah.
Because it's, you know what I mean? Like you can spend 21 billion in one way and spend 20 billion another way, but it has a very different effect on how it's actually used and the net benefit.
Yeah, this is true. Unfortunately, it's easy to make these calls in hindsight. If you can make the correct call when you're actually giving the money out, it's a bit of a different story.
I remember them announcing them, and then the day it was announced, like within a few hours, like no, that's not, no, please, because
No, fair enough.
it's human nature. It's human nature to go. I have 10 bucks in my account. I mean, every week you have like paycheck. Oh look, I now have $3,000. Who's getting a new TV?
Yeah, that's it, man. Come
Yeah.
on now.
Well, that is what they
even,
wanted.
Even so,
Like, the idea was to
Yeah.
increase spending. It wasn't, here's money, that'll help you when times get tough. It was, here's money, spend it because we need people spending money to keep our businesses going.
but right, but see that's only that money doesn't continue on much. It's consumer stuff. It's not like it's investing in a business to then grow or anything. It's not like it's investing in getting in an infrastructure project. So, for example, if let's say that go invest that money like an infrastructure project that potentially create jobs to generate money. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just spent. It's spent to create a little bit of money transaction in a month period. It doesn't have any sustained like dollars per like an income generation at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't help in the welfare sense because everyone got it. So yeah.
So, what else is news?
Anyone else heard anything they want to talk about?
Oh,
you were gonna
hey,
say something?
I do actually have a thing. Right, so bacon gives you cancer. What's up with that?
It's worth it.
Oh, come on now, yes. Apparently this was it the World Health Organization that released this statement?
Or at least they
the-
funded it.
Yeah. It's questionable because the headlines were, it's as bad as smoking when it comes to giving you cancer. Which, you know, depending on how you take the phrase as bad as, on one hand, like, yes, it does increase your risk of getting cancer relative to someone who doesn't eat much or any bacon. But on the other hand, the factor by which it increases your risk of getting cancer is something like you're 1.3 times as likely, you know, compared to smoking, which increases your risk of, or is it 1.3%? Like, it's a tiny increase, and you have to be eating like bacon every single day. Like, the way it was sold was like, you eat bacon, you're writing years off your life almost. But reality is, it's like, okay,
What?
there's a small increased risk of getting cancer if you eat bacon like heaps.
Just curious,
And-
is it
and
the
even that-
saltpeter in it? Or what is it that
No, I
like, what
think-
is it that causes cancer?
Like I think what it actually is the red meat itself. Like it wasn't
The
just bacon; it
cooking
was also red
process
meat.
for the red meat. There was the cooking
Right.
process. That's the thing. You cook meat. Charcoal itself is carcinogenic, and even just cooking meat till it's brown, you know, that increases the risk of it being carcinogenic. Increases the risk that you could get cancer as a result.
Interesting. Because so it's not from the endorphins of enjoying bacon and making you happy that's shortening your life. It's actually the charcoal.
It's
Got
actually
it.
that it's just which means unfortunately my brother, who extols the virtues of rare steak to me on a regular basis, is actually correct, and maybe that is the right way to have your steak. Whereas me,
Like
who
medium
loves
rare.
it well done, then
Oh,
well,
what?
I'm giving myself cancer. Whoops.
Wait, you have it well done. You live in Rockhampton. Condolences.
I have it well done, and I live in Rockhampton. Yeah. It's,
Oh, my condolences, man.
I'm slowly moving away from, I've had medium well done and it's not been too bad. It's a little bit disconcerting cutting into your steak and seeing red in it, but I've grown to understand it's not actually blood. I'm slowly becoming cultured, but I like my steak cooked.
Well, it's a red meat. Color of it is red. Like chicken usually is a white meat, so the color of it is white. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Well, it can be pink, but you really don't want pink chicken.
No, but a red meat looks brown is called burnt. Because it's no longer a red meat that's red, it's red meat that's brown.
Well, you take sausages, for instance. Would you eat them if they were still red?
Well, they have to have different things mixed in them as well. There's not just beef
Yeah.
in a lot of them. And pork you want cooked through. Pork you want cooked through
Yeah,
because it's a different meat. So, and even
Minced,
beef, yeah, sorry, it's a bit different.
minced beef. You wouldn't have that if it was still red.
I've
No,
seen
mince is
some
fine.
minced beef patties that.
See, we're
are
talking
slightly-
meat here, and mince, no meat. Nah,
Correct.
a joke.
Yeah. Anyway, oh, that's another interesting news. China looks like it's getting rid of the one-child policy.
There you go.
It's been, I've known it for like in some provinces, but I think that's a national thing that might be happening. So, some interesting.
wonder what's behind that thinking. I wonder if they think they can handle it now. Because
think-
they've got a lot more economic
I think
development.
that's part of it. Yeah, I think as they become more economically developed, they can start being a bit more Western-ish. And not so much American, but I mean just like I guess a bit more capitalist as a country, maybe. That's kind of my thinking there.
Well, China's whole rise to economic success has been a result of it moving away from communism and towards a more capitalist thing. They've been doing manufacturing for ages now, and that's how they've gotten, to the status where they are.
I wouldn't say that's because of capitalism, though. It's because of industrial development, and really, China's massive population is the secret to its power. Ultimately,
This is true.
that's sort of the big thing in countries. I mean, there's definitely development and technology and all these things do definitely play a part, but the more people you have in your country, the more powerful you are going to be as a country. That's why big countries are like China, America, Germany,
India.
because India's on the rise. It's sort of the example that you need technology still, but they're definitely they're kind of like China 20 years ago is where India's sort of at the moment. Also on news in China, they've been showing their muscles off in the, well, America's been showing, well, I guess it's both. China started it, but they've been building all those islands in the Chinese Sea,
Yeah.
and
Moving
now
quite forward
America's
in their
streaming
naval
destroyers past them. Not a whole lot to say there, though. That's just great powers
Yeah, it's a thing that's
doing their thing.
Nice
Well,
bit of
yeah,
saber rattling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, big boys show off how strong they are and not wanting to be pushed back and want to maintain dominance. We're in control. No, we're in control here.
Yeah.
Trying to, I guess it's very passive aggressive. That's the words to use, I would say. It's extremely passive aggressive. They're not trying to start a war just yet, but want to get as much, as they can without going to that extreme.
You just got to show that you're actually powerful if you want people to take you seriously. If you want some sort of say in diplomacy or shaping other countries or even trade deals, people have got to think you're powerful, that you'll defend your borders, projection of power. Plus, it makes your own people like you a
That you'll
lot more.
Yeah, you threaten to shirt front world leaders when they show up in your country, that sort of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we're a great power.
Oh, which reminds me, that's a thing, a topical thing. Tony Abbott was in the news again for the first time since he lost his job, because he went to this lecture in the UK and said, "We're too compassionate to refugees. This love your neighbor thing doesn't mean we should take in a whole bunch of people." And a whole bunch of people went, "What are you doing quoting the Bible in support of locking up children?"
Yeah. Was this the thing where he talked about it being because of that we're going to lose our culture by letting in all these refugees? Was this that talk?
Yes, Europe's at risk of something along those lines. That Europe will be changed. That was the expression he used, I think. That Europe would be permanently changed by the influx of migrants if something wasn't done about it.
From what I've been hearing, the German refugee crisis is actually a bit different. It's quite problematic, isn't it a lot bigger than they can actually take? Because it's been all at once and
Oh yeah, but that's not what this is
overwhelming
about.
transports.
This is
Yeah.
it's huge and getting bigger. Getting 1 million people into your country is definitely going to bring some changes. But actually got no idea what Germany's population is, but it's a lot more than our puny 20 million. Europe's pretty populated.
Oh yeah, no.
So you get 20
from
million in the
memory, it
big
was
cities.
in the 70s or 80s.
But the issue here is that we can't let in all these I mean, he didn't say Muslim specifically, I don't think, but the whole obvious idea of Middle Eastern different cultures, that's a bad thing to do. Which I found completely absurd because, I mean, I'm sure you get problems mixing cultures, but you also get a lot of strengths. Like, the Middle East has given us
Australia
a
is,
lot of things. Different cultures give us... Like this, we had this happen in Australia. It was actually... When I went down to Melbourne a few years ago, went to the Immigration Museum, and it was fascinating seeing sort of the journey of who we'd let in at various times and how that shaped things. Like, we didn't like the China... We liked all the Europeans at first, except... I don't think we liked the Italians, or... There was one of the Europeans we didn't like.
No.
Then we
Italians
needed...
and Greeks, stuff them both. Wogs and Dagos, mate. That was my parents' generation.
Yeah. But then we started liking them, and so we got all this... well, especially the
Actual
food. Yeah, we get all the
Oh,
restaurants
come on
pop
now,
up.
Souvlaki, yes.
Then you had the same thing happen with the Chinese, and you sort of see the other cultural influences on like work ethic and various things like that. And I mean, they've been nothing but positive, really. And I find it kind of funny. It's like, really, you really think that there's nothing we gain from cultural exchange?
Without saying a whole new can of worms, some parts of the British population probably disagree with it, but yes. For the most part, it seems very good to see all different cultures come to Australia.
I think for me the sort of standout example of that multiculturalism has always been, because I like history, I actually know a lot more about history than any modern country, but Istanbul, or Constantinople as it was, that city from its earliest times has been a massive melting pot of world cultures. It was, first off, it was the Greeks and Romans, because it was a Greek city in Turkey, so sort of you had a bit of the, not like Turkey, they weren't the Turkish people then, but you had the people who lived in that land had a bit of mixing with the Greeks there, formed a distinct Greek culture, which then mixed with the Romans, because the Romans were the ones who made Constantinople important, or Byzantium. That's why we call it the Byzantine Empire, because that was its name first. So you had them mixed in. Then during the Middle Ages, obviously, you had Islam appear, and the country became this big melting pot between like your Western Europeans, then your Mediterraneans, especially the Greeks still, and all the Muslims, and so much science and literature and culture came out of that city. And just these vast, even the Slavs were there, the Eastern Europeans. So, and it became an economic powerhouse, it was meeting of the world, so it just became, it was sort of a huge success story for mixing of cultures. And I don't actually know of any huge failures of mixing of cultures.
Well, you look at where Constantinople's located, you have basically, it's the center point of, you know, where Europe comes down, Asia coming across, even Africa coming up through. Like, you'll see, it's such a central place, you know, it also has ocean.
Yeah.
So it's not landlocked as far as I'm aware. So you have, yeah, it's really, really cool spot. And in fact, it actually continued almost, I guess, in the essence, it continued the Roman Empire long after the actual city of Rome fell, because it still continued that, I guess, society, you know, organized society for longer.
Yeah.
Despite Rome falling.
Alright, so anyone got anything else for our news segment?
I'm keen to go straight on into Halloween.
Alright then. We'll do that.